Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wrestling Discussions. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about last night's AEW Dynamite, tonight's Impact Wrestling, and I'm also going to be talking a little bit about the bro himself, Matt Riddle. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start with Matt Riddle, actually. So, for those of you that don't know or maybe aren't caught up with Monday Night Raw, a few weeks back, Solo Sikoa had taken out Matt Riddle. Honestly, it might actually, I think it was a couple months ago, a month or two ago now, we're looking at. Solo Sikoa taking out Matt Riddle, and Riddle essentially taking a leave of absence. Now, I had recently found out that this leave of absence was due to the failing of a drug test. Now, for those of you that don't know, Matt Riddle was supposedly, having issues in the UFC because of the drug tests. That's one of the reasons why he was fired from the UFC. And so that's, that Matt Riddle and drugs is very interesting. It plays a role. Him and his family have had some ups and downs, as Seth Rollins has kind of said in a promo he cut. As we know, I'm sure everyone knows by this point after seeing that hilariously dark promo by Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle. Now, Matt Riddle not only has been out of action, but recently, his first post in a while, from what I've seen, he's taken to, I think it was Twitter or Instagram, and he's with his kids. He was with his family, spent some time with them. So I think it's safe to say he's out of rehab. I think it's safe to say that he's back, like in the sense that he's out of rehab. He's good to go. I've been hearing that we could see him in WWE anytime now, particularly maybe the Royal Rumble. At least that's my opinion. With the Royal Rumble being so close, I think it's very expected that at the Royal Rumble we'll hear bro, and then Matt Riddle will come out. That's just my opinion. Now, moving on down the line, going up to AEW Dynamite last night. Now, obviously, I gave some predictions on this, and I had a number of opinions on this, and honestly, it didn't disappoint. I watched clips of it, I watched highlights of it, and the matches were next to amazing. The matches were fantastic, and they blew my expectations out of the water. And I even got some predictions wrong just due to the all around, just due to the how badass all of this was. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting with the All Atlantic Championship match, Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal. Now, I said this last night. My pick to win was Orange Cassidy, and I was correct. Now, apparently, what I was unaware of is that if Samir Singh or Jeff Jarrett got involved, if they invoked violence even after the match, it could cost Sanjay Dutt his job. Apparently, from what I'm hearing, from what I was seeing, and so that's interesting. That's interesting. Obviously, Sanjay Dutt, in my opinion, is the glue that kind of holds that team together, that holds that faction together right now. His promos, his entertaining ability is what I feel like brings the audience to those segments, to that faction. He is so good with his facial expressions, with his talking, the fact that, when he jumps up and down and gets really angry, he's so good with all these emotions and everything. And Sanjay Dutt is truly an incredible, he's truly an incredible manager in the sense of when he talks and when he cuts promos and when he's putting over guys like Jay Lethal. He is just so entertaining to listen to and watch, dude. Like with his facial expressions, his gestures, his, everything he does. It's just entertaining, hands down. And so I hope that this isn't a sign from Tony Khan saying like, oh, he's gonna leave soon. He's gonna leave AEW soon. I really hope not. Now, yes, I was correct. Orange Cassidy did retain the AEW All Atlantic Championship. And again, I will admit it was in a way that I'm a little against. I don't like the fact that Jay Lethal was, planning on cheating, because that's originally what he was planning. He was going to hit Orange Cassidy with a guitar. I don't like that idea. I don't like the idea that Jay Lethal feels the need to have to cheat, because I think it's safe to say that Jay Lethal is a 20-year plus veteran, right? Going all the way back to Impact Wrestling, all the way back to when he was wrestling as Black Machismo. This guy is talented beyond belief, and he's done things that people overlook, and I'm getting really tired of it, in the sense that Tony Khan is bringing in these guys, these legends in a way, these amazing veterans that are not getting the respect they deserve, because he's not using them the way they deserve. I mean, Jay Lethal, first of all, is an incredible wrestler, an incredible athlete, and his first match in AEW was against Sammy Guevara for the TNT Championship, which he lost. Then he fought Ricky Starks for the FTW Championship and lost. Then he fought Jon Moxley and lost. The dude has barely any television wins besides when he turned heel, and even then, all those wins are due to that of cheating. They are due to that of the interference of Sanjay Dutt and Samir Singh and Jeff Jarrett, and I'm so tired of it. Give Jay Lethal a match, hands down. Give him a match against even Hangman and Page. Like, Jay Lethal is an incredible wrestler, and he can easily take on these guys without having to cheat, and it just sucks that that his character was put into this direction right now. And I'm not happy with the Jay Lethal character. I would have loved to see him utilized like, make him heel, sure, but make him heel in a way where he is not like a scaredy cat. You know what I mean? Like, he hides behind Samir Singh and Jeff Jarrett, and just have him confront the problem. Like, have him be this guy that's like, I'm not scared of you. I'm a former Ring of Honor world champion. I'm a former, and mention all his accolades, mention everything he's done, because this dude has been in the ring with legends. He's been in the ring with Ric Flair. He's been in the ring with Jeff Jarrett. And not many people can say that in this day and age. Not many modern wrestlers can say that. Jay Lethal is one of the few modern day wrestlers that can really say that. So give him the opportunity. Tony Khan needs to actually start utilizing his roster properly. Now, moving on to our next match, the Young Bucks versus Top Flight. Now, oh boy, do I have a review for this. Do I have an opinion on this? I said in last night's episode that I think the Young Bucks were going to win. I was wrong. My prediction was the Young Bucks. Top Flight won, and I could not be happier. This is one of the few things. Okay, I know I complain about Tony Khan quite a bit, but this is something that Tony Khan did right. This is one of the few things Tony Khan has done right in the past couple of weeks, and that is giving Top Flight this chance, giving Top Flight this victory. These two, first of all, they put on an instant classic with the Young Bucks. And obviously, the Young Bucks are no strangers to this, right? The Young Bucks, great in-ring veterans, great move style. They've done everything and anything there is to do in this business. They've won the AAA Tag Team titles. They've won, at least I believe they've won the AAA Tag Team titles at some point in their career. They've won the IWGP Tag Team titles, the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles. I'm pretty sure they've done that as well. The AEW World Tag Team titles. They are the first ever two-time AEW World Tag Team champions. These guys are so talented. They have so many accolades, so many things under their belt, and the fact that Top Flight put these guys away is incredible. Darius Martin, the brother to Dante Martin, he did get the win via a roll-up, and I just gotta be honest with you, that even if it is a roll-up, that's still incredible, right? Because I don't think anybody expected Top Flight to be victors in this match. They are still new. They are still coming into this. And they just had an incredible match not that long ago against the Blackpool Combat Club, and now they're coming in here and fighting the Young Bucks, and they're on fire. And these guys are so entertaining. We've seen them fight FTR. We've seen them fight in a battle royal and do incredible. These guys are two of the best wrestlers. Dante Martin, Darius Martin, they have such a bright future ahead of them. And these are the one, like, these are two guys that are up and coming to AEW that I can honestly say Tony Khan has been utilizing very well since day one. I mean, Dante Martin, since being in singles action, was being nothing but utilized. When Darius came back and Dante Martin and Darius got together again, they did nothing but make names for themselves even more. They went over to Ring of Honor and proved themselves in the Ring of Honor 0 hour for before final battle, and they beat the OGK, and that's not something you're used to seeing. And now they just beat the Young Bucks last night. That is huge. That is incredible. That is something that no other team can say that they've done that early on in their career. That young of an age. These guys are what, 20? And they're like maybe 19, 20, 21. They're not even that old. And they just beat one of the best tag teams in all of professional wrestling. Clean in the center of the ring. That is huge. That is something that no one else gets to say. The match, though, the match itself was an instant classic. I mean, Dante Martin, Nick Jackson, Matt Jackson, Darius Martin, they were just going off on each other. They were giving each other everything they had, from super kicks to springboards to crossbodies to anything and everything that these guys had in their moveset, in their treasure chest of wrestling moves. They brought it out and they put it into 100% overdrive in this match, and it was beautiful. It was magnificent. This match was the definition of great in-ring chemistry. These teams melded so well together. And, I've talked about this before, especially after Rampage last week on Friday, about the Gun Club confronting the Acclaimed and what this could lead to. I'm going to say it right now. Top Flight is going to challenge the Acclaimed down the line, and Top Flight is going to become the new AEW World Tag Team Champions. I can almost guarantee you that. 100%, I can almost guarantee you that. Now, moving on down the list. Let me see here. Our next match, we've got Ricky Starks and Jake Hager. Now, my prediction for this was Ricky Starks. The winner, and I was right, was Ricky Starks. Now, Ricky Starks managed to win, even with the number game, even with the numbers advantage. The JAS was everywhere. I mean, you had Angelo Parker and Daddy Magic. Sorry, not Angelo Parker. You had Cool Hand Luke and Daddy Magic swarming the ring and, watching over Jake Hager, helping Jake Hager whenever. I mean, they were trying to interfere in the match on multiple occasions. Ricky Starks, pretty much a 3-on-1 in my opinion, took out both of them, managed to take it to Jake, and he still managed to deliver the spear to Jake Hager. He still managed to get the 1-2-3 count. And being as smart as he was, being as talented as he is, he quickly got out of the ring. He quickly left. And you see Sammy Guevara and you see Daniel Garcia. And, they're all swarming the ring and they're all looking and they're all waiting. And Ricky Starks did the smart thing. And I'm loving this JAS Ricky Starks thing right now, this feud, because Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho remind me a lot of each other in terms of promo work, in terms of the way they like to do business in this industry, and it just speaks volumes to me. And I want to see Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho go at it again. I want to see Ricky Starks at Revolution. Ricky Starks needs more pay-per-view matches. He needs more one-on-one pay-per-view matches that are actually, up there. Like, his last actual pay-per-view match was at All Out against Powerhouse Hobbs, and to be quite honest with you, that match wasn't good, in the sense that it was short. I feel like we could have seen more out of Ricky. I feel like we could have seen more out of Powerhouse Hobbs, and you could just tell they were on a time crunch, because they didn't get even nearly enough time to really show off their true nature, to show off their true wrestling capabilities, and that disappoints me, especially when discussing a wrestler such as Ricky Starks, who is so talented, so amazing in that ring, and he proved that against Jake Hager last night, and he's going to continue to prove that, and I want to see him fight Chris Jericho again later down the line. I want to see him fight Sammy Guevara as well, because I think him and Sammy Guevara are going to have a genuinely great match. I think, honestly, I don't know if anyone can top him and Sammy Guevara if and when they do collide in that ring. And I want to see that one-on-one match. I want to see Sammy Guevara take on Ricky Starks. All right, moving on down the list again. Our next match after this. So actually, we're gonna go into a segment. We saw an interview between Renee Paquette and Heyman Adam Page, and well, I'm not really going to go into detail because I didn't see that segment yet, and I don't have all the information, but it does sound like Heyman Adam Page is trying to fix some things. He's trying to adjust, and it does sound like he is back as a full-time wrestler once again. He's injury-free. He's ready to get back into action. However, I'm not sure the same can be said about Jon Moxley. We'll just have to wait and see as that moves on, and decide from there. Now, moving on to our next match, we have Bryan Danielson versus Bandito, and my prediction was correct last night when I said Bryan Danielson would win. Bryan Danielson did pin Bandito after hitting the Psycho knee. However, Bandito did do a very impressive job. It was a very entertaining match, which I had no doubt that it would be. I knew in my heart that it was going to be a great match. The reason last night I vented some frustrations when discussing that match was due to the simple fact that Tony Khan, I feel like, doesn't utilize Bandito. He overlooks Bandito at times, and that's just my personal opinion when discussing that. I'm not saying he does it all the time. I'm saying specifically when it comes to Bandito. And honestly, I think when it comes to a lot of anything involving Ring of Honor, Tony Khan doesn't put nearly as much of the effort that he does into AEW Dynamite. He does the same with Rampage. I feel like the only thing Tony Khan really puts all of his effort into is AEW Dynamite. And he needs to start realizing that, first of all, he owns two companies. And I don't know what exactly is going on in his head. I don't know if it's because it's football season and he's, co-owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars or what it is. But he needs to get his head out of his own ass, realize that he owns two wrestling companies now, AEW and Ring of Honor, and he needs to start actually doing something about it. He needs to actually start working with it and adjusting for it and making Ring of Honor building up Ring of Honor again, and he needs to start giving the wrestlers down in Ring of Honor actual matches and actual build-up. I mean, look at what he did with Dalton Castle. I mean, poor Dalton Castle, I feel like, was treated in a disrespectful manner. Him and the boys, the way they were treated, winning the six-man tag titles, only to lose them on their first defense. That's terrible. That fills me with rage, and it's upsetting to see, and I feel like he does the same thing with that of Bandito. However, I do think Bandito pulled off a great match, and I do think he earned the respect of Bryan Danielson, and maybe down the line that will earn him more opportunities that hopefully Tony Khan will not be as blind with and will actually grant them to Bandito and actually grant him enough to really go above and beyond and prove himself in this business. And I really hope to see Bandito do more in AEW later down the line. Now, after the match, we saw MJF cut a promo on the Tinatron, and honestly, it was one of my favorite. It was not one of my favorite MJF promos. I have a lot of favorite MJF promos, but it was a very interesting promo. Obviously, MJF has called himself the devil before. He has been presuming, or he's been, he's been assuming himself to be the devil. That's what he's been calling himself. And when he was confronting Bryan Danielson, he had looked Bryan Danielson, through that screen, and he had said, listen, if you want this match at Revolution, you want this Iron Man match at Revolution, trust me, you don't. Because if you get this match, if you keep going down this path, I am going to take off my mask, and it's not going to be any more fun and games. And you don't want me to take off my mask, because that's when you're going to see the monster. And obviously he was referring to the devil, right? And he said it himself. Honestly, I think this was the best line in that promo. He said, even a dragon can't fight a monster, can't beat a monster. And that is one of the coldest lines I've heard throughout this promo, specifically due to the simple fact that Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, and the devil, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, it just, I don't know, it screams volumes to me. And if Danielson does get this match at Revolution, if it is an Iron Man match, I can only imagine the war that will be waged between these two, because I feel as though the longer the match goes, the more entertaining Max gets. I mean, we've seen MJF in some pretty long matches, and the longer it gets, the more and more entertaining he proceeds to be. And it just makes me laugh my ass off more and more and more. And I cannot wait till we see MJF defend this title at Revolution, till we see him start to really wrestle more and more and prove that he is the devil, that he is the best in this business. Because I don't think it is just a thing MJF says. I think he truly is a generational talent, and I find MJF to be one of my most favorite wrestlers of all time. This guy has a talent. He for both, he's a talent for the microphone, a talent for wrestling, and a talent for just this industry in general. Any aspect of this industry, you name it, MJF has a talent for it, and he is a generational talent when it comes to this industry. And if he does fight the American Dragon in an Iron Man match at Revolution, that will be one of the best and most talked about things in AEW. I guarantee it. Now, moving on down the list, we also saw last night Toni Storm versus Willow Nightingale, and I had said this before in last night's episode that Toni Storm, first of all, she was my prediction, and second of all, Toni Storm and Saraya seem to be going down this path of becoming heels. Well, last night only confirmed it. Toni Storm and Saraya were egging on Willow Nightingale. They were, Saraya was practically cheating. She was doing underhanded tactics. Toni Storm did get the victory over Willow Nightingale, and on top of that, they proceeded to beat up Willow Nightingale after the match. Saraya and Toni Storm proceeded to continue after the match, which led to Ruby Soho making her way down the ring. Hikaru Shida made her way down the ring. And this is interesting, because obviously Ruby Soho is friends with that of Willow Nightingale. And I had said this last night. I said this could open up a door for Ruby Soho. And obviously Toni Storm and Saraya, where are they going to go from here? Because are they going to stay a tag team? Or, I don't know. And it's safe to say they're turning heel. The only difference is this doesn't feel like a normal Saraya heel turn. Back when she was Paige and she was on WWE, her heel turns were a lot different, right? Every time she was heel, she was the leader. She was the she-wolf. She was the girl that had no friends, that turned her back on everyone else. And so it's hard to see her as this heel that has a friend in Toni Storm, and it's hard to see her treat Toni Storm as that of an equal. And so that's interesting to me. And I can only imagine where this is going to take Ruby Soho, where this is going to take Willow Nightingale, where this is going to take Hikaru Shida. This is obviously going to take Willow Nightingale somewhere, because she's been being used on Rampages, on Dynamites, more and more and more consistently. And she's been getting some victories here and there. And that's something, that speaks volumes to the character of Willow Nightingale. And so I want to see Willow Nightingale move her way up that totem pole, and I would love to see her fight Toni Storm again. I'd love to see her fight Saraya at some point. I would love to see Saraya just wrestle in general, because the girl's had 2 matches in AEW, one of which was a tag team match, which she lost. So, Saraya needs more, and I would, honestly, if you want my honest opinion, I think we should see Ruby Soho versus Saraya. And maybe Hikaru Shida versus Toni Storm. Or maybe Hikaru Shida and Ruby Soho versus Saraya and Toni Storm. Either way, I think all four women can do something. And I think Willow Nightingale can kind of come in and jump in and do a little something. And I think out of these 5 women that I just mentioned, I think one of them very soon is going to get an opportunity to fight Jamie Hayter for the AEW Women's World Championship. That's my personal opinion on that matter. Now, moving on to what I believe is our last match. Let me find it here really quickly. Our last match, the TNT title match, Darby Allin versus Kushida. Darby Allin successfully defending against Kushida, but my God, was it a war. Kushida, bending the arm of Darby Allin every chance he got, putting him in that submission, injuring the shoulder of Darby Allin. I've never seen Darby in so much pain. My only complaint about this match, because my prediction was correct. Darby Allin did win. He did retain the TNT Championship. My only critique about this match is the way Darby Allin won. I am tired of Darby Allin getting his ass beat, suddenly getting one bit of momentum, and then all he does is wrap up the legs, roll them up, and get the 1-2-3 count. It annoys me because the other wrestler still has so much strength left. They still have barely been hit by Darby after the past couple of minutes, and it upsets me. We not only did we see it last night, but we saw it back in Darby Allin's first TNT Championship run when he defended the title against that of Jungle Boy. It's no offense to Darby Allin. I'm not taking anything away from him. His talent and his in-ring capability is incredible. But this idea of him being the scrappy guy, I get it. I get that gimmick, okay? I think everybody gets that gimmick. But I'm getting annoyed in the sense that he is almost making these big names and this big talent and taking them and kind of unlegitimizing them in the sense that, he's just like rolling them up essentially. And it's like they just had control of this match for the past 7 minutes. What happened? It's one of those things where it's annoying, but also it makes sense, but it makes sense in an annoying way because you don't want it to make sense. Because it's not something that should make sense, but it does. Alright, so that is going to conclude the AEW results. Moving on to tonight's Impact Wrestling, I'm going to quickly go through this and give my predictions. Our first match, we've got Taylor Wilde taking on Killer Kelly. Honestly, I think that is pretty great. Taking on Killer Kelly. I think Taylor Wilde is an incredible wrestler. I think Killer Kelly's an incredible wrestler. Both women wrestled at Hard to Kill in the Fatal 4-Way, and unfortunately neither of them won. However, they did put up a great fight, and I would love to see these two go at it because this is, I think, especially with Mickie James being the new Impact Knockouts champion, she's all about opportunity, right? And so it's important to see Taylor Wilde and Killer Kelly go at it because it's important to start to see the women's division in Impact go at it even more and more matches between the women down there, in the sense that you never know who might get an opportunity next. And so now it's time for all these women to kind of come out of the woodwork and fight to get this opportunity against that of Mickie James for the Impact Knockouts Championship. Now, the show is going to open with Mickie James, the new champ. I can only imagine that her opponent, the number one contender, Masha Slamovic, is going to confront her. However, that being said, I don't think Mickie James has anything to worry about. I think Masha Slamovic is an interesting first opponent. However, I don't think she's anyone that is a big enough of a name to really look at her and go, she's going to take the title off of Mickie James. She's not someone that I can see having that type of that type of momentum to give people that feel. And so right now, I don't think, I'm sure it'll be a great segment, but I don't think it'll be anything super entertaining outside of the fact that, oh, here's Mickey James. I want to, besides Mickey James's speech with, keeping her career and winning back the Impact Knockouts Championship. Now, we're also going to see Deonna Purrazzo versus Ashley D'Amboise. Now, I don't know Ashley very well. I do know Deonna Purrazzo, however, and so for that, predictions-wise, I am going to go with Deonna Purrazzo. And going back to the Taylor Wilde versus Killer Kelly match, I am going to predict Taylor Wilde just because I feel like in singles action she's been doing very well, and even in the Fatal 4-Way I felt like she did impressively well alongside that of Deonna Purrazzo, and Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovic really were more so the undercarders, the mid-carders that were trying their best to get their shot, and Masha managed to get her shot somewhere within that match. And we are also going to see in a pit fight, which from what I heard is no ropes, a no ropes pit fight, we're going to see Kenny Kane versus Mike Bailey. Now, Mike Bailey has been incredible in singles action, and, Kenny Kane, from what I've been hearing, he isn't, there isn't much going on with him. In fact, I even heard that there's potential of him leaving Impact Wrestling. And so, I personally, right now, I am going to say that I think we are going to see Kenny Kane lose, and my prediction is Mike Bailey. I think Mike Bailey is trying to make a name for himself. I think he's trying to prove himself, and unfortunately, he did already challenge Josh Alexander and lost when it came to the Impact World Championship. However, I could very well see him going for the X Division title. We could very well see him fight Trey Miguel, and we could see him become a two-time X Division champion. I wouldn't hold it past him. And so my prediction for that is Mike Bailey. Final predictions there. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to conclude tonight's episode. Again, I know this was another long one, but thank you all for tuning in. I hope you guys liked it. I hope, I appreciate all the support you give, and, keep watching them, keep viewing, keep liking, doing whatever it is you do. And I'll keep popping them out every day. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. Catch you in the next one. Peace.